I never imagined my daughter's 10th birthday party would end with our HOA president in handcuffs, but sometimes fate has a way of serving justice with a flourish. 3 weeks before the big day, I sent a polite email to our neighbors in Willow Creek Estates, letting them know we'd be hosting a modest backyard bash for my daughter, Lily. It was going to be simple: 15 kids, a few pizzas, a bounce house, and a promise to wrap up by 6 p.m. to keep the peace. As a single dad, I wanted to make this day special for Lily, who had faced more than her share of challenges that year. But within 15 minutes of hitting send, my doorbell chimed with an ominous ring. There stood Margaret Hensley, or as the neighborhood whispered, the enforcer. As president of our HOA, Margaret wielded her authority like a scepter, her clipboard a constant companion and her expression perpetually sour. "Mr. Carter," she said, her smile as cold as a winter wind, "I received your email about this gathering." I nodded, keeping my tone even. "Just a small party for Lily. We'll keep it quiet and clean up after." Her pen tapped her clipboard in a rhythm that set my nerves on edge. "I'm afraid you'll need to submit a formal event application. Section 7, Paragraph 3 of our bylaws requires board approval for any gathering exceeding 10 guests, submitted 30 days in advance." I felt my jaw tighten but kept my cool. "It's a kid's birthday party, Margaret. We've had plenty in the neighborhood without issues." Her eyes gleamed with smug satisfaction. "Rules are rules, Mr. Carter. And that inflatable structure? It requires a separate permit and a safety inspection, plus a due law $300 deposit for potential lawn damage." It was absurd, but 2 years under Margaret's iron grip had taught me that arguing was futile. "I'll look at the forms," I said, taking the stack she thrust at me. "See that you do," she snapped. "Late submissions incur an expedited processing fee." With that, she spun on her heel and strutted away. For the next 2 weeks, I jumped through every hoop she dangled. I filled out her forms, paid her outrageous fees, and rearranged the party setup 3 times to meet her ever-shifting noise mitigation standards. My neighbor, Tom, urged me to ignore her, but I didn't want drama spoiling Lily's day. Besides, I had a secret weapon knowledge about Margaret that she didn't know I possessed, and it would prove invaluable. The party day dawned with perfect weather. The bounce house was set up to Margaret's exact specifications, the chocolate cake was Lily's favorite, and the kids were in high spirits, their laughter echoing as they bounced and played games. Neighbors dropped by with gifts, commenting on the joyful scene. Then I saw her Margaret, lurking at the edge of my property, phone in hand, filming the party while scribbling furiously on her clipboard. When she caught my eye, she didn't flinch. Instead, she marched to my fence gate like a general advancing on a battlefield. "Your permit allows 15 children, Mr. Carter," she said, her voice dripping with accusation. "I count 17. I took a deep breath. 2 kids brought younger siblings last minute. Their mom's a nurse, called in for an emergency." She waved a dismissive hand. "That's irrelevant. Exceeding the guest limit that's your agreement. And I've measured the noise levels." She brandished a small device. "You're 7 decibels over our residential limit." I glanced at the kids, quietly munching pizza at the tables. "They're eating lunch, Margaret. This isn't a rock concert. The bounce house motor and their shrieking exceed acceptable thresholds," she countered, her voice louder than any child's. "As HOA president, I'm shutting this party down." I stared, incredulous. "You're serious?" Her smirk was venomous. "End it now, or I'll issue a due law $500 fine." Parents chaperoning nearby gathered, their faces a mix of shock and fury. Lily, sensing trouble, looked over with wide, worried eyes. I'd promised her a perfect day, and I wasn't about to let Margaret ruin it. "Margaret," I said, my voice low but firm, "this is my daughter's birthday. We've followed every reasonable rule. The party continues until 6, as permitted." Her face flushed crimson. "Then I'll call the police for a noise violation." I almost laughed. "You're calling the cops on a kid's party? Watch me," she hissed, already dialing, her voice rising in exaggerated distress. I'm reporting an unauthorized gathering disrupting the entire neighborhood. What Margaret didn't know, what she couldn't have known, was that among our guests was City Councilwoman Gwynn, whose son was Lily's classmate, and her surprise guest, Mayor Thompson. The mayor had come to commend Lily for her community project, collecting toys for a local shelter, after she'd written him a heartfelt letter. I turned from Margaret's theatrics, reassuring the guests everything was fine. 20 minutes later, a police cruiser rolled up. Margaret waited at the curb, practically bratting with glee. I approached Officer Daniels, a familiar face from community events, who looked baffled by the quiet street. Got a noise complaint, he said, glancing around. Before I could explain, Margaret pounced. Officer, this man's hosting an illegal event violating HOA rules. I've asked him to stop, but he refuses. I stayed calm. It's my daughter's birthday, officer. We have all the permits, though Margaret keeps adding requirements. She cut in. The permit was for 15 children. He has 17, and they're 7 decibels over the limit. I've documented everything. Officer Daniels shifted uncomfortably. Ma'am, this isn't really a police matter. HOA disputes. Noise violations are a police matter. Margaret's voice hit a pitch that mocked her own rules. Shut this down and issue a citation. Just then, Mayor Thompson emerged from the backyard, his presence commanding. Everything okay here? He asked, his deep voice cutting through the tension. Officer Daniels snapped to attention. Mayor Thompson, didn't expect you, sir. Margaret's face cycled through confusion, shock, then forced composure. Mayor, I'm Margaret Hensley, Willow Creek HOA president. I wasn't aware you were at this unauthorized event. The mayor smiled warmly. Lily invited me after her letter about her toy drive. Remarkable girl. What's the issue? Margaret seized her chance. This gathering violates HOA bylaws. I'm enforcing our standards. The mayor's brow arched. You called the police over 2 extra kids and a noise complaint? Margaret faltered. We have strict rules in Willow Creek. Mayor Thompson turned to the officer. Is this party disturbing the peace? No, sir, Daniels replied. It's a normal kids' party, well managed. The mayor nodded. Ms. Hensley, I'm concerned about wasting police resources when Officer Daniels could be handling real issues. Margaret's face turned beet red. With respect, Mayor, you don't oversee our bylaws. As president, I stepped in, my voice steady. About that presidency. I pulled out my phone, opening a file I'd prepared. Per Article 3 of our HOA Charter, enforcement actions require secondary board approval unless explicitly listed. Noise from a daytime kids' party isn't listed. I've documented 27 instances where you've acted unilaterally, issuing overdue law $15,000 in fines. Margaret's eyes narrowed. That's preposterous. I continued unflinched. I'm a property law attorney. I have affidavit VYTS from homeowners and records of your unauthorized actions. I plan to raise this at the next board meeting, but since you're disrupting my daughter's party and misusing police resources, this needs addressing now. The mayor's expression darkened. Unauthorized fines could suggest fraud, Ms. Hensley. That's serious. Margaret's facade shattered. This is outrageous. I've kept this neighborhood pristine. Without me, property values would collapse. Her voice became a shriek. Ma'am, lower your voice, Officer Daniels warned. Instead, she jabbed a finger at me. You planned this. You lured the mayor here to humiliate me. In a moment of stunning recklessness, she shoved me hard. I stumbled but held my ground. Ms. Hensley! Daniels stepped in. That's assault. Calm down. She lunged again, ranting about conspiracies. Within seconds, Daniels had her cuffed, reading her rights as she screamed about ungrateful homeowners. The mayor and I watched stunned, as she was led to the cruiser, still railing about community standards. 3 weeks later, in a packed courtroom, the judge handed down her fate: 6 months probation, a due law $1,000 fine, anger management, and a restraining order barring her from nearing me or my home. Margaret's shocked expression as the gavel fell was unforgettable. But the judge wasn't done. The court recommends Ms. Hensley's removal as HOA president due to evidence of financial misconduct. Margaret's jaw dropped, her reign crumbling before her eyes. As I left the courtroom, I thought only of Lily's next birthday, a celebration free from Margaret's tyranny, filled with laughter and the promise of a quieter, happier Willow Creek.